Right now, you are never more than a short walk from a clean, private toilet. You flush, you wash your hands, and within seconds, the whole thing vanishes from your mind completely. You have done this thousands of times without a single serious thought. But here is something that should stop you cold. For roughly 99% of human history, none of that existed. No toilets, no paper, no plumbing, no sewers, not for a single one of your ancestors, going back hundreds of thousands of years. And yet, every one of them, every single day of their lives, had to solve the exact same problem you solve without thinking. So how did they do it? How did ancient humans go to the bathroom in a world with no bathrooms at all? The answer is far more clever, far more disgusting, and far more important than you would ever imagine. Because the story of how humans dealt with their own waste is secretly the story of how we built civilization itself. From wandering hunter-gatherers, to toilets in the Indus Valley that are older than the pyramids, to the shockingly social bathrooms of ancient Rome, to a stinking crisis in London that changed the modern world. This is the story nobody tells you. So let's go back to the very beginning, before villages, before farming, when humans were nothing but small bands of wanderers. For most of the roughly 300,000 years our species has existed, we lived as hunter-gatherers. And here the answer to the bathroom problem was beautifully simple. They just walked away. When you live in a small group of maybe 20 or 30 people, constantly moving across the landscape, human waste is not really a problem at all. You walk a short distance from where you sleep and eat, you relieve yourself on the open ground, and within days your entire group moves on to a new location. Nature does the rest. Rain, insects, sunlight, and bacteria quietly break everything down, and by the time it could ever become dangerous, your group is already miles away. This instinct to move away from your own waste is not unique to humans. It is ancient, and it runs deep across the animal kingdom. Cats bury it, dogs sniff it and avoid it. Even that flash of disgust you feel right now, just reading about this, that powerful urge to recoil from waste and its smell, is not random either. It is a survival mechanism hundreds of thousands of years old. The ancestors who felt disgust and stayed away from contamination were the ones who stayed healthy and passed on their genes. The ones who did not feel that revulsion got sick, and often did not survive long enough to reproduce. So that instinctive wave of disgust you feel is, quite literally, one of the oldest survival tools your body owns. But then, around 12,000 years ago, something happened that would change everything and create a problem. Humanity is still solving today. We stopped wandering. Humans began to settle down. We invented farming, built permanent homes, and stayed rooted in the same spot for generations, sometimes for centuries. And suddenly, the old solution collapsed. You could no longer just walk away and let the land absorb the problem because you were not leaving. You were staying, living in the exact same spot year after year, alongside dozens, then hundreds, then eventually thousands of other people, all producing waste in the same confined space, every single day. For the first time in human history, waste became a genuine crisis. And how a settlement handled that crisis often decided whether it survived or collapsed. Here is the deadly truth our ancestors learned the hard way, usually through mass tragedy. Human waste left too close to where people live inevitably works its way into the drinking water, and contaminated water spreads diseases like cholera and dysentery. Silent killers capable of wiping out an entire town in a matter of weeks. Sanitation, it turned out, was never really about comfort or manners. It was about pure survival. And the civilizations that figured this out first became some of the most sophisticated societies the ancient world had ever produced. Which brings us to one of the most astonishing discoveries in all of archaeology. Travel back about 4,500 years to a city called Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley, in what is now Pakistan. What archaeologists found there is almost unbelievable for its time. Nearly every single house had its own private toilet, a brick seat connected to a covered drain running beneath the street, quietly carrying waste away from the home. This was not one clever household. This was a citywide sewage system, thousands of years before most of the world had anything close to it. Its sister city, Harappa, had a similarly advanced network running beneath its streets. These ancient engineers understood something profound. If you want thousands of people to live packed together safely, you have to control their waste with exactly the same discipline you use to control their water and their food supply. The toilets of the Indus Valley are older than the pyramids of Giza, and archaeologists still consider them one of the most advanced sanitation systems of the entire ancient world. They were not alone. In ancient Egypt, wealthier homes, along with the workers who built the pharaoh's tombs, used wooden or stone toilet seats positioned over removable pots filled with sand, essentially an early portable toilet, emptied and cleaned by hand. And far to the north, on a wind-swept island in Orkney, Scotland, A 5,000-year-old village called Skara had drains built directly into the walls of its stone houses, leading away from small indoor recesses that may be among the very earliest indoor toilets in Europe. All across the ancient world, wherever humans gathered in large enough numbers, they were quietly, cleverly wrestling with the exact same fundamental challenge. But no civilization turned it into more of a spectacle than the Romans. If you walked into a public latrine in ancient Rome, you would probably be shocked. Picture a long stone bench with a row of keyhole-shaped openings cut into it, sometimes 20 seats side by side, with absolutely no walls, no doors, and no privacy whatsoever. Romans sat shoulder to shoulder, chatting, gossiping, discussing business, sometimes even holding informal meetings, all while relieving themselves in full view of everyone around them. To a Roman, going to the bathroom was not something shameful to hide. It was practically a social event. Beneath those stone benches, a constant stream of flowing water carried everything away into the Cloaca Maxima, Rome's great sewer, one of the true engineering marvels of the ancient world. Remarkably, parts of it are still functioning beneath the streets of Rome today, more than 2,000 years later. Which brings us to the question you have secretly been wondering this entire time. In a world with no paper of any kind, how on earth did people clean themselves? The answers turn out to be genuinely resourceful. In Rome, according to popular historical accounts, a sponge, fixed to the end of a stick, was kept by the latrine, rinsed in a channel of running water, sometimes mixed with vinegar or salt, and used by one person after another. Historians actually still debate today whether that sponge was truly passed between strangers or used more like a communal cleaning brush for the seat itself. But either way, it captures just how differently the Romans approached the whole experience compared to us. Ancient Greeks, meanwhile, often used smooth, broken pieces of pottery instead, and across the rest of the world, people simply used whatever their environment offered them. Handfuls of leaves, soft moss, sheep's wool, snow, in the coldest northern climates. And in many cultures, especially where water was abundant, the simplest and arguably cleanest solution of all, a splash of water and the left hand, a practice that billions of people around the world still use today. What we think of as the completely normal way to clean ourselves is, historically speaking, actually very new. And the truth is that for most of human history, our ancestors were far more resourceful about this problem than we ever give them credit for. Now, let's fast forward and reconstruct what daily life actually looked like for your more recent ancestors. Imagine living in a medieval European town about 1,000 years ago. There is no sewer running beneath your feet. Waste is often simply thrown into the street, or collected in cesspits dug behind the houses. The smell is overwhelming, yet somehow, it becomes just another constant unnoticed part of daily life. Rivers running straight through major cities slowly turn into open sewers, and diseases sweep through crowded, filthy streets again and again and again. For hundreds of years, humanity actually went backward, losing much of the clever sanitation engineering the ancients had already discovered, and paying for that loss with repeated waves of devastating plague. Things reached a horrifying breaking point in the summer of 1858 in London, during an event now remembered as the Great Stink. The Thames River, by then little more than an open sewer for a city of over 2 million people, grew so foul in the summer heat that Parliament, sitting right beside the river, very nearly had to abandon its own building. Only a few years earlier, in 1854, a London doctor named John Snow had traced a brutal cholera outbreak back to a single contaminated water pump on Broad Street, proving for the first time that filthy water, not simply bad air, was what was actually killing people. Between the outbreak and the stink, London finally had no choice. Engineer Joseph Bazalgette was commissioned to design a massive new underground sewer network, one of the greatest engineering projects of the entire Victorian era, and the direct ancestor of the sewer systems that quietly protect major cities all over the world today. And this is the part almost nobody appreciates. The modern toilet, and the vast invisible network of pipes and treatment plants working behind it, is one of the single most important inventions in all of human history. When medical professionals were once surveyed about the greatest medical milestone of the previous century and a half, the winning answer was not vaccines, and it was not antibiotics. It was sanitation. Clean water and the safe removal of human waste have saved more lives throughout history than almost anything else humanity has ever invented. The humble toilet is a quiet hero that has added decades onto your life expectancy, and you almost never even think about it. So the next time you close that door and enjoy those few private, effortless moments of complete cleanliness, take just 1 second to notice what you are actually experiencing. You are enjoying a luxury that nearly every human being who has ever lived would have found absolutely miraculous. A private room, clean, flowing water, the instant, effortless disappearance of a problem that haunted your ancestors every single day of their lives. A problem that shaped their cities, spread their plagues, and quietly drove some of the greatest engineering achievements the ancient world ever produced. For hundreds of thousands of years, this simple, universal human need was a genuine matter of life and death, a daily reminder of just how fragile survival really was. Your ancestors solved it with sponges and broken pottery, with brick drains and open stone benches, with cleverness, desperation, and a disgust response, older than history itself. And they solved it well enough that you get to sit here today, comfortable and safe, having completely forgotten it was ever a problem to begin with. That, in its own strange and unglamorous way, is what civilization really is. Not the palaces, not the monuments, but the quiet, unglamorous triumph of finally making the hardest, most human parts of being alive simply disappear.